Start with this video by introducing yourself. It would be a video about the fact that you are the first woman of color in the space. So can you say something like, my name is blah blah blah, and in a few sentences introduce yourself?
That's not what I was expecting to do. Yes, my name is Dr. Mae Jemison, and I have the sensation. Let's do it again. My name is Dr. Mae Jemison, and I have the sincere pleasure of right now leading an organization called 100 Year Starship, which is really about how do we get to another star system, making sure we have the capabilities. Why? Because it makes a really big difference to what happens to us here on Earth. Now, why do I think I can do this? It's because my background is really from having been a physician and engineer, having been an astronaut, and in fact, the first woman of color in the entire world to go into space. And the entire time I looked at that, I recognized how important space-based technologies and efforts are to surviving on this planet.
Do you consider yourself as a role model? And because I heard that you have been really influenced by a character from Star Trek, do you think that now you can be the kind of character who influence other people, like for example, small girls?
So it's really interesting because science fiction and stories can have a big influence on us, yet I think role models, it's a perfectly good term that's been misused. Role models are those people we learn our behavior from, that we learn, that we see day to day. It's our parents, it's our teachers, it's our sisters and brothers, aunts, uncles, the person down the street who we are around, who help us to see things and are, teach us the behavior. They can be good or bad. Public figures can be images of the possible. And so that helps you in some ways. But how did I learn how to continue to do all my work that I needed to do? It's by watching my mother, who was a school teacher, would stay up at night and sew clothes and do those kinds of things. That's how I learned the stick-to-itiveness. My father, who worked a number of different jobs, and my parents, who always said that it was important to try to understand what you're doing, to really reach down and think about things. From my cats, who are just these wonderful creatures who can be by themselves or they can be in social groupings. They have this self-assuredness. They go places that I would be afraid to go, and they try things. So, the idea of role model is who we learn our behavior from. Public figures are the possible. And when I looked, one of the things that people are saying is about Star Trek. Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura, is one of my best friends. And Lieutenant Uhura, yes, was someone, the character was really incredible because it said that other people shared some of the thoughts and ideas I had. I also love Mr. Spock, which was because my whole thing was where I really wanted to be a scientist, and so some of those characterizations. I think one of the pieces that bothers me is that people assume that you can only learn from people who look like you, and that's not true. You can learn from everyone, and at the same time, it's important for the public to know that everyone has talents and abilities, and it's sometimes important to know that there are people like you who are involved, and it just makes things easier.
According to you, how can we struggle both against self-censorship and also discrimination in employment? Do you have an opinion about that?
So a lot of the work that I've done has been around how do we get more people involved with science and science literacy? How do we get, for example, more women in academic positions, in colleges and universities? And the issue goes with what we look for: STEM education, what I call the 3 E's: exposure, expectation, and experience. Because what's really there, first of all, for many times with STEM education, with science, technology, engineering, mathematics jobs, we need to understand what they are. So many people don't actually know what those jobs are. They don't know that you don't have to have a PhD to work on spaceships. In fact, spaceships are usually put together by people who have 2-year degrees or they just came out of secondary school, right? But those are wonderful jobs, so those are pieces that we need to know. So it's just the exposure, it's the expectation that we expect that every child can learn and do things, that expectation, children live up or down to our expectations. And our expectations guide what we allow them to do, right? What kinds of laboratories we put in their classrooms, whether they're exposed to the mathematics, our expectations as adults, whether or not we ask girls questions that get them to dig deep into information, right? If we tell girls that only thing they have to do is be cute and don't get their clothes dirty, there are all kinds of things that happen with expectations. So exposure, expectation, and experience. So doing those things, letting them be in the classrooms where they can actually do the laboratory work, that's experience. Being able to do internships, those things make a difference. That's with working with students and working with children and people. Now the other part of that is that we have to hold society and we have to hold people in companies responsible for whether or not they actively open up the job that they have, the jobs that they have to all people, and they don't go to the same places all the time and expect to get different people. And they say, hey, I went to an all-boys school, but I didn't get any girl applicants. Really? You know, or you do those kinds of things. That really makes a difference by opening it up and holding them responsible as well. Why does this make a difference? Because when you look at society, we're at a critical point in terms of where our technologies are. We're at a critical point in polluting our planet, in being able to care for one another, and health, and all kinds of things. And we need the full perspective and all the talent that's available to us to be able to tackle those things.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to bounce on that.